things you go through, you're going anywhere.
This is always a big deal.
Don't touch me.
Oh.
Gwen, Azama-Edwards. Edwards.
I better not let them, I better not have that recorded. You
I
might
was the witness.
sue me.
The Boot with Gwen, Azama-Edwards on Azama Radio.
Three, four.
Stan, you've been sitting much too long, much too long. Welcome, 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 welcome to Truth, a radio program designed with you in mind, a program whose sole purpose is to empower you, our listeners, for information, leads to knowledge, and knowledge is, you got it, power. And as always, I want to empower you to take control of your life, those things that impact you, your family, and your community. And as has been stated, I'm Gwen Azama-Edwards, former city clerk, retired city clerk, former city commissioner, City of Daytona Beach, and president and CEO of AE Enterprises, Inc., a consulting firm on politics and ethics. I have such a great program. Of course, all my programs are great. What can I say? But I do have a great program tonight on our local agency that provides not just assistance, but loving care to those in need, the Domestic Abuse Council. And we're going to talk to the CEO and the board chair with the Domestic Abuse Council. But before I bring them on, I do want to do a few shout-outs. I want to do a shout-out to Bethune-Cookman University, who has just gone through, and they will be completing this. They have something going on every night. They started and kicked the rededication and reopening of Hind Chapel on Bethune-Cookman University campus, with the morning service on Monday, which is outstanding. If you're one of my Facebook friends, then you saw a little bit of that, and I've been trying to get that video. Oh, it's awesome. Trying to get some of this stuff up. But they will complete that, even though they have something every night. Tonight, it's Sister Thou Art Loosed, women only. In the chapel, and that starts at 7 p.m. I'm going to rush over probably after the show and try to catch the last part of it. But ladies, you need to go. Hind Chapel, Bethune-Cookman University, and that's 7 p.m. Tonight. And I do want to do a shout out for the entire week of activities. It's community and university, or the students combined, just having a great time in celebrating not only the reopening, but celebrating the one who keeps us, who created us, and that we should give all honor and praise and glory. And they will end the celebration on Sunday, this coming Sunday at 2 p.m. So they invite all community leaders and all community individuals, everybody, to please come out on this coming Sunday at 2 p.m. At 2 p.m. Okay? Come out and celebrate with all of us. I'm going to be there, try to get as many of our church members as can come, and hopefully as many of you can also get your church members to come. This is a community affair, okay? This Sunday at 2 p.m. I also want to do a shout out for the Volusia County Health Department, who put on their second annual Health Equity Summit. And it was fantastic. And if you're a Facebook friend of mine, you've seen the pictures and some of the information that came out of that as well. Just fantastic. I was telling Big John they have a great free meal as well. So he thought he had to pay for it. But anyway, they give a free meal. So please, those of you who love, you know, the comfort of eating, socializing, and learning while you're there, goodness gracious, do plan on coming to the third annual Health Equity Summit. That will be at the Volusia County Health Department, because the first two have just been fantastic, and it's going to get better and better. And then finally, a shout out to Birdie Sessions Shout out to Birdie. Just a wonderful, wonderful seasoned citizen of Daytona Beach, who's just such a super person. She loves her family, she loves her community, she loves people. And I'm told that she's a little under the weather, so I just wanted to do a shout out for her and tell her, hey, I'm going to drop by there pretty soon now, just to give you a big hug, because you're just such a super, super person, and we're just so proud and happy to have you as a resident of the city of Daytona Beach, working to just keep everything as there should be. And you know, keep it just humming along as it should in helping people who live there, right? Okay, shout out to Birdie. And a shout out to all of you. Thank you, thank you, thank you for not only listening, but thank you for your support. Thank you for what you do for one another. And thank you for whatever love you share with one another as well. Because, you know, that's got to be the basis upon which we build every relationship, every relationship. And we should have relations, you know, relationship building is what makes a community, it's what makes a family better, it's what makes everything better. Everything really ties to relationships. So shout out to Birdie in particular, because she's my lady. I tell you, she's an awesome, awesome person. That Birdie's in her 80s, and you know, and just as spry as she can be. But again, she's a little under the weather, so shout out to you and to all of our listeners. We love you, we appreciate you, and you guys, you know, as I left that Health Equity Summit, I realized that, as they said, it does matter where you live, but it also matters how you take care of yourself. So please, exercise, and look at how you're eating. Exercise and look at how you're eating, okay? And we're going to talk about now the fact that, you know, there are some people who are taking care of themselves in so many ways, but they get caught up in situations that are not of their making, outside of their control, and they need help. And there is an agency, a fantastic and awesome agency in our community, and you know, I've had Cheryl Fuller, the CEO of the Domestic Abuse Council, on the air before, and and you know that she is a lady who has been a part of the Domestic Abuse Council for several years, but she's been the CEO for the last few. And she cares and loves, she has a passion for what she does in terms of the Domestic Abuse Council. And then we also have Sherrilee Stoudt, who is the board chair. And I've got to do a shout out for Richard Stickney, who was the board chair, and we just love Richard as well. And Richard, if you're listening, love you, love you, love you, and you're in our prayers. But Sherrilee Stoudt is the current board chair, and we're happy to have both of you guys here. And one of the things that Cheryl and I were talking about on one of the last shows we did over a year ago, we were talking about the color purple, which is the color for Domestic Abuse Council. And we were trying to come up with reasoning for that color because, you know, different organizations and different drives have different colors for what it is that they're trying to put across to people. And, you know, for the, it's like cancer is pink.
Breast cancer is pink,
Yes.
child abuse is blue. So yes, there's
So it just goes on and on and on, but domestic abuse is purple. And you've done further research, and there
Yes,
are
I
several
did.
reasons for that, huh?
Yes, and as I told you earlier, I could not find any definitive answer as to why. There was different research that I found, and one was that color does represent the color for mourning.
Mm-hmm.
Way back years ago, that the individuals would wear purple when somebody passed away. There's also the theory that purple represents the bruises that victims sustain as the results of the abuse they endure.
Mm-hmm.
And the other was that it was the favorite color of an individual who helped start the movement years and years ago. Apparently when she passed away, all of her friends wore purple to her funeral to honor her memory and all of the hard work she did in helping victims of family violence.
Well, that's awesome. And then in talking to Sherrilee, she was saying that purple is her favorite color, and when she retired, they did everything in purple. And then I shared that my mom that our family color is purple. It was one of the last two colors available, but my mom loved, like you, she loved the color purple, and having been a heroine of Jericho and a matron, they wear purple, you know, purple and white, so purple has been a big part of her life. Of course, purple also stands for courage.
Yes, it
and,
does.
And royalty,
And
royalty as
yeah.
well. Given some of the things that you shared, Cheryl, I think for the women, and there are some men who are also a part of the program who find themselves in the midst of domestic abuse. It really represents courage too, because for a lot of the individuals who find themselves in that position, it really takes a lot of courage, a lot of thought-provoking, sometimes anxiety, to actually decide that you need to make a move, you need to change things.
Tremendous
And it's
courage
not an
to
easy
take that.
decision, is
Not
it?
at all. Now, I don't think it's an easy decision for any individual
Mhm.
when they have to end an abuse, a relationship.
Mhm.
Who wants to say, I want to, divorce somebody that might be the father of my children or the mother of my children? Add into it now the fact that you have been told, if you ever leave me, I won't just hurt you, I'll hurt anybody who's around you. So it takes courage to take that step to leave an abusive relationship. It takes courage to survive living in one too.
And if we look at the statistics, because when you were on once before, there had been an increase in really violence and actually individuals being murdered. And we see a little bit of that going on today as well, where people decide, I can't live without you, or I won't let you live without me type situation.
That's correct.
And sometimes, because I want to make sure that we deal with this and we don't leave it to the tail end, sometimes family members don't make the right decisions in terms of working with people who are going through that. And it's hard for a family member. I will say this, it's hard for someone close to you as well to know what you're going through, hear and see bruises and the like, and hear you say that you're scared, you can't leave, and knowing what's happening in terms of the violence related to that. Let's start off sharing some things that people just need to be aware of in terms of domestic violence, in terms of what they can do or what they should do. Not everything I know works in all cases, but there are some basic things that I think you guys have found out that bear hearing.
Yes, I think if you have a friend, a family member, a neighbor, a co-worker, an acquaintance of any form, and you think that they're being abused by their partner or their spouse, that you should, in a non-judging way, ask them, are they safe in their home? Is anybody in your home hurting you verbally or physically? Don't be afraid to confront the person without judging them. Because the minute we judge, the minute we even label, and by that I say, if you say, are you a victim of domestic violence? People might not want to take that label. Or they think, well, I've never been hurt physically, therefore I'm not a victim, where you can still hurt somebody emotionally. So ask in a loving way. If the response you get back is, it's none of your business, just reply back, I cared, that's why I asked. That person will remember you, Gwen. They'll never forget who took that time to ask them if they were safe in their home. If they should answer, no, I'm not safe, or I am being hurt, really then just refer them to our agency, because the minute you go ahead and bring them into your own home, you could be in danger in yourself.
Absolutely. Your family.
Right,
Yes.
2 weeks ago we had a situation where a lady fled her abusive situation, went to stay with her girlfriend. The abuser shows up at the girlfriend's house, starts breaking out all the windows. The police were called. The individual was brought to our shelter. Somehow or another, he found her at our shelter. We were actually put under a lockdown. He knew where we were. He was threatening to kill us, but we were prepared for it. We had the security. We have the alarms. We had cameras watching. This person, her friend, was not prepared. So it's a dangerous situation, so you should always have them contact our hotline so we can make sure they know of the services that we offer.
And we should mention that the location of the facilities that are available for them, those locations, that information is confidential.
That's correct.
Yes.
That's correct. And
Which, as you said, the person still found out.
They
probably
still found
fallen
out.
or something. Yeah.
Who knows, you know,
Yeah.
it's hard sometimes when you serve the number of individuals we have, we've been in the same location for 10 years, to keep it for sure confidential. Modern technology has made it harder, GPS, tracking phones, you know, putting a little tracking device on a car. There's all different ways individuals, if they want, can try to track somebody. Once again, though, we try to prepare the individual when they contact our hotline for that. You know, remove the battery from your phone is a good way to do it. Go to the police department, they'll do a scan to make sure your car's not. Yeah,
Okay,
so there are some
super.
resources that
Yes.
we can offer a victim to help them escape safely, because you're exactly correct when you said that can be the most dangerous time for a victim. It is, when they take that step to leave.
And I should mention here, while we're talking about the phones, that do you still do that collection of
You bet
phones
we
that
do.
people want to?
Yes,
you know,
we
if
do.
they're, you're changing out your phone, you're getting a new phone or whatever. One of the things you can do is donate your old phone to Domestic Abuse Council, and they will clear it of all your
That's correct.
information.
Yep.
But then they will set it up so that one of the persons, someone who's dealing with domestic abuse, actually can go ahead and have a phone to use. Because many times they end up either leaving their phone behind, or
Exactly.
you know, even if they take it with them, then that means that that person's able to continually call you or whatever.
That's
I
right.
mean, you just set yourself up one way or the other, so it's better off if you start off new and
Well,
fresh.
that's right. Well, a cell phone also, even if you don't have service, you can dial 911 on any cell phone without having a contract with any provider. So if a victim wanted a cell phone in every room of their home, in their car, in their purse, we have enough where we can do that for them. You see what I mean? So they can dial 911 immediately without
Right.
even a contract. So that's what's essential about this. And if we get too many phones, we have donated them to the elderly and individuals who also can use them for the same reason.
Yes.
They can dial 911 for help if they should fall, or, you know, are concerned for their safety too.
And so people know in terms of children, and I guess you still have the program, that's a separate program for animals?
Hush Puppies, it's still there, Hush Puppies Incorporated. They're not our agency, they're a nonprofit, you bet. They adopt the pets of the individuals, well, they foster, they don't adopt them. They foster the pets, so if we have a victim who has a dog or a cat, or even a snake, or, you know, whatever their choice might be, and they decide to come into our shelter, we obviously can't have the animal in our shelter. We call Hush Puppies Incorporated, and they meet us at the shelter. They do a little foster exchange and sign some paperwork, and they will take care of the animal until the victim is able to get her own place, or his place.
Now, Sherrilee, what is it that makes someone, I think I know the answer to this, but I want people to hear, what makes someone want to volunteer with an agency like Domestic Abuse Council? What made you want to do that?
Well, I was in the leadership program with the Daytona Chamber, and at the end, at graduation, you had to get up and say, okay, I'm going to serve on this board or that board, and it was easy for me, because I think, you know, domestic abuse, we need to end it in our community. It needs to end. So I've been on the board since '09, and I just think it's something extremely important to be a part of. And it's a great team, and it's a very worthwhile organization.
Now, being on the board, are you able then to have a lot of firsthand, because I'm sure she does this, firsthand information about the stats and really how alarming in truth some of the stats are, I'm sure, regarding domestic abuse and you know, just what's going on in our county as well as around the state?
Well, it is very important at the board meetings. We go over that each meeting so everyone knows you know, what's going on at the shelter. We also have the thrift store, so that's another avenue that you know, people can bring items in, which is very helpful. It's in a new location on Nova Road, and we're always looking for furniture and clothing and anything that you would need in your own home that the shelter needs. So it's very important to contribute to that.
And I think at times people can't relate, or they don't want to relate in terms of what individuals deal with the domestic violence, because And again, we mentioned that there are some men that also find themselves in this situation. You guys have some assistance you provide for them as well. But these are people who find themselves because they have to just up and leave when they do finally decide to do so. They have to leave everything behind. So clothes are left behind. Some of them can't go back to their jobs because the spouse knows where they work.
Might not be
And
safe.
yeah, and we know there are situations where the spouses go on the job, they end up, killing, abusing, or whatever. So for a lot of them, that's what they have to do. And then if they bring their children with them, they've left behind clothes, toys, and everything for the children as well. And I know you guys, you collect toys, and we'll take toys and what are some of the other things, having gone through AKA to provide some assistance in terms of meeting some needs that you guys have at the Domestic Abuse Council. What are some of the needs that you have?
Well, for the children, you're right, clothing, but think of them also going to school. They might need backpacks. Right now, what we're trying to do too, Gwen, is get a pair of shoes for almost every age of children. Because they might come in with, just their little nightgown on or just socks on their feet. So if we have a pair of shoes that could fit every gender, all the boys and all the girls, all the way up to teens too. Some people forget we work with every age, that the mom might have with them. So that's a biggie. So think of clothing, think of, like I said, going back to school, backpacks, anything for the children, that toys, etc. It might be nice, but books too. Educational videos, games like that they can play with as not only a family but as a group, because they're living together in the shelter as a group. We've had, like recently, I think we have 21 kids there and 17 women, so we have a lot of kids living together. So different games and etc. are nice for the kids to have. Outside toys, balls, bikes, those type of things are nice. But for the whole family, again, think of what you would have in your home. We need paper products, paper towels, Kleenex, we need diapers, we need baby bottles, sippy cups, plates, all the different things in your home, twin sheets, all those things are ongoing needs of ours, because the wear and tear that we have at our shelter, I mean, it's unbelievable. Last year we had over 8,000 people in our shelter, bed nights. Okay, you have, if it's you and your husband, 365 times 2. Well, think of that, the numbers that we are having in our shelter. It's unbelievable. And so the wear and tear is tremendous on all of our furnishings. So if you have chairs, etc., ours might need to be replaced. We just recently went through all the rooms and our dressers are starting to need to be replaced. Well, that's cost that perhaps we could use elsewhere, like for bus tokens, etc. So,
and there are people who, who find themselves, they're relocating, and we had some neighbors in our neighborhood who were trying to, they wanted to sell, but I'm sure they would be willing to donate at least 1 or 2 articles from their home when they're moving, because they're not taking the furniture with them. Domestic Abuse Council, as you're hearing, could benefit from that. Now, given that locations are confidential, how would someone go about then getting these things to you? Because they can't really drop them off,
right, but we have our thrift store, as Sherrilee had said to you, our thrift store.
Okay, and that's on Nova. Do you know the specific address?
I know that
okay.
it's on Bevel and Nova.
Oh, okay.
And it's in the same complex as John's Appliance, John City Appliance.
Right there in the corner.
Right there on that same corner, if you pull into their parking lot and look to the east, you will see our thrift store. It's open 10 to 6, Monday through Saturday. We're just closed on Sunday. You can drop it off there, and we can pick it up and take it back to the shelter. We also, if it's items that you aren't able to drop off because you don't have a vehicle yourself, because it's furnishings, dressers, etc., we once a month are arranging to pick up items.
Oh, wonderful.
Right, so we have to rent a truck or arrange for a volunteer to do it, but we will come to your home and pick up items too. We just need to pre-arrange it.
Well, that's super. What is it that, because we've talked about, basic things that someone should say to an individual that they think might be experiencing domestic abuse. What are some common mistakes that perhaps family members make. And because I'm sure there are times when, based upon how some of our parents grew up, you know, a little knock here and there, you know, didn't hurt anybody, and they would tell you that too. So, you know, and the man is the head, and you know, and he's in control, and you need to just be compliant and kind of give in to whatever. But what are some common things that you find that and that you told by some of these that end up in your program that they just didn't feel, things they were told that they felt they should not have been told, or things that you're aware of that people end up being told that really should not have happened?
You made your bed, lie in it.
Mm.
They get better when they get older, just hang in there. You know, little things like that.
Yeah.
What did you do? What did you
Oh,
say
wow.
to deserve
Wow.
that?
Hmm.
You know, perhaps if you try a little harder, things will get better.
Mm.
So, and Gwen, you know, you said we kind of grew up in an era where, yes, the man was the head of the household
Mhm.
and the woman was the caretaker, but you didn't see, at least in the home I grew up
No.
with the man
Mhm.
breaking your mother's arm or breaking her nose or blackening her eyes or calling her vulgar names or,
Mhm.
you know, that didn't happen. So you can grow up in a home where there are strong stereotypes, where the man is the head of the household and the woman takes care of the family, but it doesn't have to mean there's violence.
Right.
Love doesn't hurt.
Mhm.
And I grew up in a home where my mom was the the housewife and took care of the family, but I never saw my father ever hurt my mother physically or verbally, ever.
And then when the children, of course, are exposed to that,
Exactly.
yeah, then what you're doing is having a generational type of domestic abuse fall from one
Exactly.
to the next.
Exactly. It can be a cycle of violence. It can be a learned behavior. And I say can be because not all
Always,
children
right.
who grow up in violent homes grow up to repeat the cycle, but unfortunately it does become almost normal for them. They think that that's how every couple should interact, when we know that's not the way it should happen.
Which speaks to people being told, you need to stay together for the children,
Right. Right.
you know.
Well, yeah,
At what point do you say, no, it's best for my children that we part?
exactly. And unfortunately, I think a lot of times from the victims that we work with, they, until the children are hurt physically, sometimes
Mhm.
have those same thoughts themselves.
Mhm.
At least the kids have a roof over their head. At least I don't have to take them away from their comfort zone, their
Mhm.
school, their bedroom, their
friends, right.
toys, their friends, etc. But the minute the child gets hurt, then it's like, enough, you can hurt me, but not my babies.
Mhm.
But ask a child, as we do in our agency, what it's like just to even hear mom and dad get hurt. It's terrifying for them. It affects them physically, it affects them emotionally. They usually are behind scholastically. It's just, I mean, their whole childhood is altered because of mom and dad fighting. And it doesn't always have to be mom and dad. I should
Mhm.
kind of,
Yes, I wanted to.
Yes, it
how,
could be
because
any
domestic
adults.
abuse is really defined differently now than it was, let's say,
Exactly.
40 years ago.
it could be any adult, and we have seen, I know you and I have seen
Mhm.
grandparents who have custody of children now. So it could be
Mhm.
grandparents, it could be, you know, aunts and uncles who have gained custody of their niece or nephews, or they're still living in the home,
Mhm.
and there's adults fighting. So when we work with the children, we talk about any adult fighting in the home, and that their responsibility is to stay safe. They're not responsible for breaking up the fight, they're not responsible for dialing 911, their responsibility is to stay safe.
And when it comes to your same gender relationships, which is covered under domestic
Yes.
abuse,
Mhm.
do you end up having individuals in those types of situations as well? So it's not just heterosexuals
That's
sexuals
correct.
that you deal with?
That's correct. And that's why you'll hear me saying partner a lot. We
Mhm.
don't even want
Mhm.
anybody to assume that you have to be married, because
Right.
couples live together too.
Mhm.
So it's your partner. If your partner's hurting you physically or emotionally, we're there for you.
That is awesome. Now, children who go through this, we've said that it normally has an impact on them. Not always negative, but at times it does. In fact, what's kind of interesting in the health equity summit that I attended today, they actually said that domestic violence actually can have an impact on someone's health status. And I'm sure these are people that, because they have the bruises and the like, will stay away from the hospitals because they don't want them to see it, because they are required to, I guess, make phone calls
Right.
and alert the police and others to that. So they may be hurting, but they will stay home and kind of take care of it themselves.
Right.
There are times when I would think, because children try to be so protective of their parents, they really do. They don't want to say or do anything either that's going to have one or the other end up getting locked up or something else happening to them. So many times, even if they are hurt in some form or fashion, they won't go and won't tell anybody because they don't want others to
Exactly.
know. It's embarrassing, but they also don't want to get the parents
Exactly. It's still their mom and dad, you know, and that's all they know, and they still love their parents. But 50% of children who grow up in a violent home are also being physically or sexually abused. So half of them in those homes are being abused physically. I think 100% are abused because they are living in a violent home. But when it comes to the adults in healthcare, you brought that up. Healthcare is not required by law to report domestic violence. They're required to report gunshot wounds, stabbing wounds, life-threatening injuries. So they're not required by law to report. But what you have is a society or a segment of society, being the victim, who is ashamed that they have the bruises, or the abuser doesn't want to be found out, so they don't allow them to receive the medical treatment. Over 25% of the victims who enter our shelter program, their batterer refused to take them to the hospital after a beating. So they're not allowed to go get the help. So, and there's also, some studies that say that the abuser, if it's a he, is actually somewhat jealous too of others out in the community. So taking her to the doctor means someone else might be examining her. He thinks, yeah. So so they won't allow them to receive the medical treatment that they really need. So there's a whole bunch of different things happening, Gwen, that results in them not getting the medical attention they need. And you're right, it does affect the victims and the children physically. Digestive problems, the anxieties, the headaches, all type of health-related issues in addition to the abuse they have gone through.
Now, for those who, and either of you can chime in on this, but there are signs and signals that can, and you have to almost take them together because any one of them separate could mean something else, but there are some signs that people can look for that actually would indicate that you are possibly in an abusive situation. What are some of those things that people should kind of chime in on or pay attention to? And not just them, because they know when they're in one, but other people around them even who care.
Well, I think maybe when it's, summertime, if somebody's, always wearing like longer sleeves or, turtlenecks, that, there might be some type of bruising, or if there's conversations, the woman isn't really, or the partner isn't allowed to speak up. There's one dominant person that's, in control of the situation, so that's definitely something to look for.
And if you're just getting to know somebody too, say you're just starting to date, there are also some red flags that a lot of times we don't even think about at the time, because when we're just falling in love, the endorphins are going.
It's all good.
Right, but there's this push to quickly move in together, okay, for quick involvement. There are all of a sudden a little bit of controlling who you basically are, how you dress, who you talk to, who you socialize with. And that can be done in loving ways, and we don't even realize that's happening. Hey, baby, you look so much better when you wear your hair down. I like it when you're just purely natural, when you don't wear makeup. Oh, can't you stay home with me instead of going out with your girlfriends? I just want some time alone with you. When really they told you how to dress, how to wear your hair, So we don't see all those signs when we first start a relationship. And those are red flags, big time red flags.
Well, absolutely. And because we're, some people really are just so excited to have somebody, that they are quick to overlook the little things, which really are big things that
Exactly.
you just mentioned. And people always think, as you had said earlier, oh, they'll change with time, or I can change them, or they'll, as we get closer together, they'll change and they'll get better. When it doesn't get better,
It gets worse.
Yes, it gets worse. It gets worse. So, and I'm sure there are times that there are some people who might say, trying to help you to dress better or whatever else, but all those things taken together, they are really and truly red flags that people should really and truly pay attention to. I can recall individuals, because I'm closely involved with the church, people who talk about going to church, and there are churches that will say, well, women can't wear makeup and the like. But that's different from, and a lot of them switch churches, of course, but but that's kind of different from an individual who's all of a sudden telling you how to dress and how to do this and how to do that. Because someone who loves you will accept you as you are.
Exactly, exactly, and that's it, and that's, you are who you are, and they should love you for who you are, not who they want you to be.
Right, absolutely.
And not saying what time you have to be home and, where you have to go and, things like that, or, all the little red flags that, put together, can in the end cause some problems.
Sure can.
Now, are you seeing, which can be kind of a sensitive subject, but are you seeing in terms of the same-sex situations, do you see the same type of thing that goes on?
Yes, there's no difference at all. There's still the abusive partner wanting power and control over the victim, and the victim still loving the abuser, just wanting the abuse to stop. The same exact thing. The difference is there's also the same-sex relationship can add a fear of being almost outed. If you leave me, I'm going to perhaps, tell. Perhaps your boss doesn't know. Perhaps your family doesn't know. So they kind of use that as a control tactic that they will, quote, out them. So we find that's basically just another method of control that is used against the same-sex victim.
Absolutely. I'm real concerned, and I know I keep coming back to this, in terms of the children. Do you find that that more and more the grandparents are stepping in? And do you find even when the grandparents step in that sometimes, as grandparents, we want to solve all of the problems. We want to make it all go away. We want to pretend that nothing sometimes is happening and protect the kids from the reality of what is going on. So they live in this fantasy world, and they grow up sometimes in that fantasy world, not dealing with reality. Do the children end up at times, hopefully, getting some type of guidance or mental health assistance or anything?
Right. If they need mental health assistance, we provide that for them through referrals. We don't provide the counseling ourselves at the agency. We would refer out to perhaps Children's Advocacy Center, Children's Home Society, House Next Door, depending on where the family lives. So we would refer out. And our agency, our children's coordinator, works with the children on the issue of family violence. You're not responsible for the abuse, how to stay safe, and then helps the children with their needs. Do they need to get enrolled in school? Do they need to see a doctor? Do they need to just sit down and play? Let's have some fun, go outside and play, do some art, that type of thing. So we have a children's center, and we try to help the children just to even adapt to the shelter. It's hard moving into the shelter and having to share all this stuff with other kids. So we do a lot right there with them at the shelter, but we refer out to those who need more than we can offer.
And I would think too, Sherrilee, that especially during the holidays, it's especially difficult for families and especially the children. You look at Christmas, or you look at Easter, times when families bond and they're really a lot closer together. You got, the whole family's coming together sometimes to eat and to, make merry. Is that an especially difficult time for the children?
Well, I think any time of the year is difficult, but around the holidays, it's especially difficult. They're away from, perhaps all their environment and, perhaps one of their parents they're away from, even though it may be a bad situation, they're still away from,
Right,
a loved one. So that's very difficult, but we do fundraising, and around the holidays, gladly take any type of donations to help the little ones so that it will make it a little easier for them.
Yeah, we have great community support, and Sherrilee has seen that, and usually, and if needed, we take care of the little ones. So the Easter Bunny comes, and Valentine's Day there's a Valentine's party, and Halloween we help them get costumes. So we take care of them because they live with us. If their birthday is while they're in the shelter, we take care of them. We have a family right now where mom is going to be having a baby while she's at our shelter. We know she's due any time now. So we'll be celebrating the birth of a new baby at our shelter. So all the things that happen when they're in their own home happen with us, and we help them do that. We're there for them when they are upset and they need a shoulder to cry on, and we're there to celebrate the joy of life with them.
And I know during one of the tours that I took, you had your kitchen and you had families were actually able to cook some meals.
That's right, and we're so happy. We just renovated our kitchen, Gwen. You've got to come back.
Awesome.
It's so nice now. Yes, we thankfully received a community development block grant money, and the county administered that, and we're able to renovate the kitchen. We have a handicap area in there now too, and it's just really nice. But yes, they prepare all their own meals. We buy the food through grant monies for that, and they prepare the food and clean up after themselves. So. Yep, they live with us. So.
Yes, yes.
Yep.
And we also have a laundry facility, so if you would like to donate any type of laundry, like the little pellets or the rolling carts, any of that would be appreciated, because that's something that they need to do as well at the shelter.
Yeah.
And like you said, anything and everything that a normal, regular household would need,
That's right.
you're happy to receive.
That's right.
Most
That's
definitely.
right.
Yes. Let me just say, you're listening to Truth with Gwen Azama-Edwards. My guests are individuals who are associated with the Domestic Abuse Council. And we have Cheryl Fuller, who's the CEO. I call that executive director, but CEO, executive director of the Domestic Abuse Council. And we have Sherrilee Stoudt, who is the board chair. And we're talking about the Domestic Abuse Council and their needs and how you can spot or in some ways get some red flags about whether you're headed into or might potentially be involved in a situation or a relationship that really may not be in your best interest. I was just thinking as I was sharing that that as we've talked about the services, I should say WLE 1380 AM on your radio dial in Ormond Beach, Florida, and this is Goliath Radio. But as we were talking about this too, and looking at, we were talking about grandparents, we're talking about the parents that are involved, we're talking about the children and the like. Employers too have a tough situation. Many times I would suppose because the spouse is embarrassed, they won't share something with the employer. How do you, or how are individuals counseled in terms of if they were to come and say, should I talk to my employer about this? What would you suggest?
Yes, they should talk to their employer about this. First of all, there's nothing for them to be embarrassed about. They're not the one who has the problem. They should go in and tell their employer, especially if they are planning to leave, that they're going through this, that if they did obtain an injunction for protection, which is like a restraining order, they should give their employer a copy of that, because that would show them that the abusive partner had no right to be on their property so many feet within the victim. And it puts them aware of what's going on, so that if they see them, somebody immediately calls the police.
Right.
Because as you said, you never know what could happen.
No.
You don't know. And they might even allow them some time off, so they can help deal with it. There are legal rights for a victim too. An employer must give them time off without jeopardizing their jobs to go to court for the injunction for protection. Right. We, at the Domestic Abuse Council, can help a victim through that process too. We have court advocates who basically can give them a better understanding of what the injunction is like and what resources they can ask for through it. But we also have an attorney who can help represent them at court. There's a lot of things we can do at the Domestic Abuse Council besides our emergency shelter. And I really want to stress that because some people think, well, I don't need shelter, I don't need their help. Call us. There are things we might be able to do for you that you're not aware of.
And I was going to ask you about that. What are some other examples of things that you have done or that you can do?
Well, one is like the legal help.
Right,
You know,
yes.
people aren't aware of that. There's also something called relocation assistance. It's through the Victim of Crime Act and it's victim compensation. But if you're a victim of domestic violence, you have called the police because you were abused, you have a police report, and it's happened within the last 30 days, you can apply for relocation money if you needed to get away. And it'll help you establish new housing, or say you needed to leave to go to your family in another state, but you can't afford a plane ticket or the transportation costs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, up to $1,500 is available. We can help them apply for that. We have transitional housing, which is where you can stay up to 2 years. You know, you leave the abuser, you have no place to stay, you don't have enough money to get into your own apartment, you can move into our transitional housing where you can stay up to 2 years in your own apartment. We still are there to help you with some case management, etc., while you go through that program.
When those houses, the transitional housing, we have available in Daytona, in Port Orange, and DeLand.
Wow, yes.
So,
I know one was originally named after Jimmy Huger because some of their funds actually went to provide a house.
Right.
They were very, at that time, very supportive. This was when he was with the City of Daytona Beach Community Development.
Right.
Funds. Yeah.
Back in, well, the
Yeah, it
late
was a long
1980s.
time ago.
Yes. We also have support groups, Gwen, you know, for victims. Sometimes it's easy for you and I to talk about it, but when you're around somebody else who has gone through
Yes,
this,
yes.
and to get the support of each other is unbelievable to see that process. And they're in confidential locations, but you can call, because we don't want people showing up, you know, that don't know. But we have them throughout the county too, and they're free of charge. All of our services are free of charge. Important for anybody listening to know that too, that you don't have to pay to come in. If somebody needed help, they can come and see us individually on an outreach basis, so they can meet with an advocate and just talk about their situation. You know, we're just there for them. We're there to help them without judging and whatever they decide. Sometimes victims come in and think, you know, I'm really not ready for this, and go back. Well, we'll do some safety planning on how to stay safe even if you're with the abuser, because there are things you can do to stay safe with the abuser.
Are there times when, I know I've asked you this on the show before, but are there times when it really wants the abused person and yourself or staff or others talk with them where they decide it's better for them to leave the area?
Yes. Yep, there are times. We have lethality assessments we can do with individuals. And the best indicator is the victim. He or she knows, you know, if their life is in danger. But there are warning signs, you know, access to weapons, previous reactions or actions to when you have left before, threats to kill you, obviously, abuse of animals or children, abuse of prescriptive drugs or alcohol or other illegal drugs. Those are higher indicators that lethality is there. But the best indicator is the victim's fear. If she fears for her safety, we need to believe her.
Now, some of the individuals who have ended up being killed had taken out the
Injunction.
yes, and I know there was a time, and perhaps, and hopefully it's not the case now, where law enforcement did not take this type of a situation as seriously as they should have. And I know the laws have been strengthened to the point where if they don't, then it's really not a good thing,
Right.
you know, and they know that. Is that kind of where we are now?
Yes.
Where you have the cooperation that's
Mhm.
necessary from law enforcement?
Yes, ma'am.
Not only for the women, but also for the men.
That's correct.
Um,
That's correct. And I know I keep saying she, and I don't want anybody out there to think that we do not realize and understand that men can be victims of family violence, of domestic violence. It's just we do serve more women than we do men, so I catch myself saying she, but for anybody listening, we are there for male victims. We have shelter for male victims. Last year, we sheltered 7 men. You know, years past, it might have only been 1 or 2, so it is increasing, and we are there for male victims, and I want to make sure they know we can help them in the same way.
Wonderful, because I would think that with males, the fact that they are males, that it makes it probably more embarrassing.
It does. It's kind of the same reason why there's domestic violence.
Right,
We have this
absolutely.
image that men have to be so powerful and control that when a man is a victim, we're like, you've got to be kidding. Well, yes, they can be. They just don't hit back, you know? So, I mean, we've had men with their children at our shelter, so they can bring their little ones with them just like the woman can.
Grandparents sometimes end up getting custody of children. Many families now find themselves living together because somebody's lost their house, they've lost their job and everything else. Do you ever find anyone from that situation that has been abused that finds themselves in the shelter?
It does happen, but not that often,
Uh-huh.
Gwen. When you're dealing with intimate partner violence, usually if the grandparent is in the home and the abuser leaves, because then they could get the injunction, order him away, the abuser doesn't usually try to follow them around and stalk them like they would their intimate partner. You see what I mean? So the fear level is not the same. But we would be there for them, and we have had grandparents who have custody that do enter our shelter.
And when it comes to the older children who find themselves viewing and being in the middle of some of these situations, are there opportunities where they actually can become adults or whatever? Do you find that any of that happens where they actually kind of go off on their own and try to do their own?
Yeah, they'd have to be emancipated by the state of Florida, yeah. Unfortunately, usually what happens is they take off on their own as runaways, and we know what happens to children who run away before they are ready to. And there's a high incidence of children who grow up in violent homes to run away, get into drugs or alcohol, or get married or start a relationship themselves at an age before they're ready to. So that we see more than them trying to become young, productive adults.
And that probably ends up being funneled into what we see a lot of now, which is the human trafficking.
Exactly.
Which is another sad scenario and takes more time than we got in the next few minutes. Individuals who believe that they have a friend who is being abused through domestic violence, and they've asked the question, but as you said, they need to refer them to you. Give them again a scenario by which they can kind of interject the need to contact you guys, and then they share the information that they can, where they can make the phone call or whatever else to make the connection.
I would say something like, and I'm Sherrilee, my friend, my board chair here, I'm going to use her. If I thought Sherrilee were being abused, I'd say, Sherrilee, you know I love and care about you, but I am concerned that maybe you're being hurt in your home. Are you okay? Are you safe in your home? And if Sherrilee said back to me, I'm fine, Cheryl, I'd say, I just asked because I care, and I do know that there's a place for you to get help if you should ever need it. And that's how I would deal with it. I would just let her know I care. And I'd probably say, you know, that number's in the phone book, or you can call, you know, me. I'd make sure I found it for you. And for anybody listening, it's 1-800-500-1119. That's a statewide 800 number. And what's important by that number is it will get you through to the shelter closest to you.
Mhm.
So if you're calling from the Flagler County, it puts you through to the Family Life Center. If you call from here in Volusia County, it puts you through to our agency.
Mhm.
If you call from Jacksonville, it puts you through to Hubbard House, which is the shelter up there. So it's a wonderful statewide hotline because it puts you right through to the shelter closest to you. So I would just do that. I'd let them know if they did say, yes, I'm being hurt, and they do share with me or with you that you're being abused. I'd say, well, I want you to know I'm here for you, but would you be willing to call this agency? You don't have to give them your name, just call and talk and see what services are there for you. One of the things I think is frustrating for family members and friends are when they do find out their friend is being abused, the friend usually doesn't act right away. They don't leave. Be patient. Be patient. Still be there for them. Still be supportive of them, because it might not be today, but it might be next week. It might be next month. Make sure you don't say, oh, figures, you stayed. Or you roll
Why did
your
you
eyes.
stay?
Right.
Yeah, why did you stay?
Yeah, don't do that. Just let them know that you're there when they're ready. That's what you need to do. And be there for them when they are ready. Even if you can't shelter them, it doesn't mean you can't give them a shoulder to cry on or somebody to call when they're feeling lonely at night. There's things you can do as a friend when they do decide to leave.
One of the things I thought about was, instead of them having to look the number up, you could write it out for them. But if they were to have that and take it home with them and then it be found, think of the situation that
Exactly.
create. So
Exactly.
I guess then I thought that, what I'd do is I just write the number and put it somewhere, maybe at the workstation if we work, and that way the person, if they decided that's the number's here if you ever need it.
Exactly.
And they can come by and just,
Write
make a
it
phone call
down.
from there or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
To do it in a way that you don't end up jeopardizing that person or making them feel worse,
Exactly.
as we're saying.
Exactly.
And just letting them know that you're there for them.
We have some, we call them pull tab flyers too, that if anybody wants, if you're listening out there and want some for your place of business, let us know. You can put those up on bulletin boards or in restrooms, because somebody can go into a restroom and just pull the phone number off.
Right.
And that little tab is easier to hide than a brochure or a great big flyer too. You can hide that in your shoe or in a corner of your wallet of your purse, something like that, where it's easier to hide. And the victim knows where a safe place to hide things,
Right.
because she'll already know if her partner goes through her pocketbook or her purse, etc.
Do you ever need volunteers?
Well, it would be a great segue here. Domestic Violence Month is coming up, and we are going to be having our second annual Purple Parade. And we go right down Beach Street, and last year was our first, and we had over 300 folks dressed in purple.
Wow.
And the Bethune-Cookman drum line led us, and everybody
That's
knew we were there that morning. It was awesome. It was a great feeling, first thing in the morning, and we just made the walk down Beach Street, so that's going to be coming up, and anyone can join in the parade.
And help us with it. Volunteers, if you want to help us organize it, give us a call.
Most definitely, we need people to offer water and help set up and break down, and just to be along the sides, cheering everyone on. That's important.
And you guys have luncheons as well that go on during the year?
We have our annual luncheon in October to bring awareness as well. So that's another event. And
I
then
know
we
the
have
Red Hat ladies have
Red
been very
Hat,
supportive,
yes.
right?
Yes, we just had that in February, so we just had that one.
That's a great fundraiser, and it's just letting, informing and educating people, and hopefully that will be able to put an end to domestic violence in our community.
Now, if someone just wanted to send mail a contribution or whatever, how would they do that?
P.O. Box 142. P.O. Box 142, Daytona Beach, Florida, 32115.
Wonderful.
You can also go on, we have a website, www.domesticabusecouncil.com. If you Google it, you'll probably find us too. And that gives you all the information about our agency, what to do if you're a victim, volunteering opportunities, gives you the board members' names, contact information for staff, including myself, So that'd be a really easy way of searching us to get us our address and our phone number.
Okay, and give them that again.
www.domesticabusecouncil.com.
All right. Closing comments.
I think I'd like to stress that domestic violence is a community issue. It affects us all in so many ways because over 33% of all American homes are touched by family violence. We all need to work together to end it, and I believe together we can.
Wonderful,
And I
Sherrilee.
think that there's a donation there's never a donation that's too small. And we'll take anything from little soap pellets on up to furniture and, nice big checks.
Well, my thanks to both of you, and again, it's Cheryl Fuller, CEO, and Sherrilee Stoudt, Board Chairman, and we do thank them for coming on there with the Domestic Abuse Council. And to all of our listeners, those of you who can help, you've seen in the news what the issues are, you've seen how life-threatening this situation can be. You've seen the impact on not only the men and the women involved, but the children and the families, extended families as well. So to the extent that you can help the Domestic Abuse Council, go on the website or Google it or in some form or fashion, help them however you can. These are individuals who find themselves in situations that are outside of their control. And then regardless of, how you and I may have been raised, there are these types of issues and these types of problems, and that's what love is about. It's about helping others. It's about sharing. You're blessed to be a blessing, so to the extent that you can help, I hope that you will. And again, that website is
www.domesticabusecouncil.com.
all right. Wonderful. Thank you to all of you.
Gwen.
Our pleasure, thank you.
For listening in, and as you know, we do put this, and we will be putting this up on YouTube, so that you can continually go and you can get this information and know how you can send money and how you can help. Again, you've been listening to Truth with Gwen Azama-Edwards. Be sure to go to our website, www.gwen-truth.com, so you can access all of those important listings that make you all powerful, and go there so you can chime in on the query that we have as well. Again, this is Truth with Gwen Azama-Edwards, and like Cheryl Fuller and like Sherrilee Stoudt, Domestic Abuse Council, and all of you, we're still standing. You be blessed and have a great week. Until next time, again, be informed, be empowered, stand tall for that which is right and truthful. Again, this is Gwen Azama-Edwards with Truth Radio, and you just have a blessed week, but have a blessed night as well. And again, love, that's the answer for everything. God bless.
Yay!
All right. Wonderful.
You're so
You
good.
just listen to Truth with your host,
Okay, I think she is.
Azama-Edwards, exclusively.
Told you just lied.
Awesome
Yeah.
program.